Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, we travel up north to visit the Wildlife Science Center in Minnesota, where we get to experience wolves like never before. And we head back south to the Florida Keys, where the Lionfish Derby brought in record numbers for conservation this year. Then later in the show, we're up close with an animal that comes from Central America, a Derby Woolly Possum. Bet you can't say that 5 times fast. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. We begin today's show somewhere a little different. We travel to Minnesota to the Wildlife Science Center. The center started out as a research project about gray wolves back in 1976. And when federal funds for the program dried up, the team of biologists felt the work was important enough to continue. So they've created a nonprofit and have made it their mission to carry on the work with a focus on education. Let us introduce you to this living classroom.
I think the wolf has become a symbol in a similar way to the eagle of all things wild and free. Wolves are what we call a keystone predator. They're really a thermometer that takes the temperature of the health of the environment. And we know more now than we ever knew about how dependent human beings are on having the trees, the forests, the oxygen-breathing plants that we absolutely cannot live without. And a wolf is one of those harbingers of trouble. If you have wolves on the landscape, you have a healthier landscape. It just contributes to the diversity, and they fit like nothing else.
The gray wolf is the largest living wild canine species. Its color can vary, and so can its size, depending on what part of the country they live in. Its body averages from 3 to 5 feet long, plus another foot or 2 for the tail. Female wolves can get up to 100 pounds, and the males can reach 145 pounds. Wolves are carnivores, and some are said to eat 20 pounds of meat in a single meal. These animals live in packs, with male and female hierarchies, and can reach speeds up to 40 miles per hour. And despite the popular beliefs, they do not howl at the moon. They do have a complex way of communicating with each other using a variety of sounds and scents. Wolves once lived all across North America, but due to hunting, some are now considered endangered. How did you get started?
I had a German Shepherd as a child, and I fantasized that he was part wolf, which he was not. But I wrote to my first wolf biologist when I was 8 years old, and he wrote back to me, and that was really impactful. He assured me that I could study wolves when I grew up, and I believed him. And so I held on to that letter, and it was my guiding light.
And how many acres are you on here?
We're on 210 acres here.
Tell us about who you've got here at the sanctuary now.
Well, when I took the facility over, the federal funding dried up and there was no one else that would take it over. And so I quit graduate school and decided to create my own nonprofit. And the animals that we have now some of them are descendants from some of those original animals. So we continue to get wolves from the wild. They're in situations where we're the only option, or euthanasia. So most of them are pups, or in situations where the mom and dad have killed livestock and the mom and dad are killed, and then it turns out there are pups. So we'll get those pups. So those animals have grown up here, and in some cases we have allowed them to have pups as a part of our ongoing studies on behalf of the Mexican wolf. We also have Mexican wolves and red wolves here, and those are both part of ongoing reintroduction projects. So those are really critically endangered, and we don't own the permit for those guys. Those guys belong to the federal government. And so we are considered cooperators in that very huge national effort, international in the case of the Mexican wolf. So the red wolf is a completely separate species from the gray wolf. The gray wolf is the animal that we have in North America, but there are 5 subspecies, and the Mexican wolf is the smallest and most rare of the subspecies. So they were native to the southwestern part of the U.S., maybe as far north as Colorado, and were nearly extirpated. In 1979, there were 7 individuals verified in the wild.
That's nuts.
5 in the southern U.S. and 2 in northern Mexico. So, and with the red wolves, there were 11 verified in the wild in 1979. Wow. So, yeah, it's just, well, Northern Europeans did a very good job extirpating predators, and so those guys were no exception. So, in an effort to save them, biologists brought both of those species into captivity and began captive breeding programs. So you can imagine how difficult it is with 7 founders to maintain genetic diversity. It's really an amazing effort, and it's taken a lot of cooperators, and it's a huge team of people that are working to save the Mexican wolves and the red wolves.
So what are a difference like between a dog and a wolf, their behavior? I know that's a big question.
It is a very big question.
Just, is there some obvious things that come to mind?
Yes, very obvious. Well, so just the process of domestication changed them dramatically in terms of their cranial capacity, reduced cranial capacity for dogs up to 30%. Serotonin, oxytocin levels, those are the love and hug hormones, are rampant in the dog and not in the wolf. Even in a bottle-fed wolf, there's no evidence of them loving us back. And when your dog is looking at you and you think it loves you, it does. It's secreting oxytocin. Reduced jaw size and reproduction, that's a huge thing. Dogs are able to have puppies as young as 6 months of age and can have multiple litters every year for their whole lives. Males are reproductive 12 months a year. That's not true with wolves. Wolves have 1 litter, and generally speaking, not until they're 3 years old. And the males are only reproductive in the wintertime. So, and they are obligate long day breeders, which means they breed around February every year, and they don't breed in the summertime. They don't breed in December. Right. So those are some really obvious things that are different.
Okay, that makes sense.
You get down to the behavior, and it's fascinating. The whole selective pressure on wolves is to be the biggest and the fastest and the strongest, and we don't want those in our house. I don't want to come home from work and have my shepherd go, today I'm going to take over the household. And Marcia, you and I both know people that have let their dogs take over their household.
Absolutely. How up close and personal can you get to a wolf?
Well, it's remarkable when you start from the time they're very young and you accommodate their body language. You don't expect them to become a dog, because they are not going to be, and they're not going to become a human. You have to talk to them in language that makes sense, which is one of the reasons we use dogs when we're raising wolves, because they speak that language better than we do. And he has the long nose, he has, and he's willing to stimulate them to urinate and defecate, which I draw the line there.
Wait, what? He's willing to what?
When wolf pups are infants, they don't urinate and defecate on their own. They have to be licked by an adult. So when they're infants, and there are hormones that attract an adult to do that, but Reacher and the yellow lab do it very naturally, and so that's something I'm not willing to do. We piggyback on them, and we develop very close relations, and it's really a 24-hour relationship, and they literally live with us, and we sleep with them, so that it is constant, because what we're battling is a very natural fear of human beings. If we do not take them off the mom, we see flight responses by 15 days of age.
Really?
And by 21 days of age, it's a pretty much irreversible flight response.
Wow.
So, and that's baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, and that's different than dogs. If you care about your child, you care about your grandparents, you care about the future, you will care about the environment. And what I'm trying to do is take advantage of the fact that even if you love them or you hate them, wolves are charismatic and have got your attention. And so you want to talk about what matters to us. Life matters. And look at the heat islands and cities and all these things we're learning about how destructive it is to live without our environment. So they are absolutely a way to get people excited about the outdoors again.
What an incredible experience. For much more about everything going on at the Wildlife Science Center, you can go to their webpage, wildlifesciencecenter.org. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, efforts are underway to maintain the balance of our natural environment for Florida's reef.
It's a great story of how communities are working together to protect their local environment.
We check in at the latest Lionfish Derby, where record numbers of this invasive species are being collected. That's next.
Good morning, Mr. Benson. Your breakfast is served.
Time for another day in doggy paradise. I sure am one lucky pup.
Mr. Benson, would you like to go out for your morning stroll? The weather is quite lovely today.
That sounds wonderful. Don't mind if I do. After all that exercise, I think I'd like to lounge by the pool and maybe dip my paws in.
As you wish, sir. Right this way.
What a perfect day. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else but Dante's Den while Mom and Dad are away.
At Dante's Den, we pride ourselves in providing the best experience for your beloved pup. Whether it be a day, a month, or a year, Dante's Den should always be at the top of your list for boarding. With an expansive campus, your dog will enjoy daily walks, pool time, and an endless supply of love. Even better, it's all under 24/7 supervision from our wonderful staff. If you're anything like us, your dog's safety and happiness come first. To learn more about Dante's Den, visit dantesden.org.
Did you know Moat is helping restore depleted snook populations and has raised and released 30,000 of them into local waterways so far? The more you know about everything Moat's doing to help our oceans, the more you'll understand why Moat matters. Visit moat.org today.
Welcome back. It's Citizen Science Time. Recently, the REEF Environmental Education Foundation hosted the 14th annual Lionfish Derby in Key Largo. The purpose? To collect invasive lionfish in an effort to protect native fish.
Our mission is to protect oceans worldwide. So we're working to create a world where the oceans are healthy and there's a whole network of people that are engaged and active with ocean conservation. Today we have our Lionfish Derby. It's the 14th annual Lionfish Derby here in Key Largo, Florida, where teams go out and they collect invasive lionfish from the water. So invasive lionfish are a fish that's not supposed to be here. They're from the other side of the world, and in their native range where they're supposed to be, they're healthy and they have other animals that keep them in balance. But because they're not supposed to be here in Florida, they don't have natural predators, and so the populations are just growing exponentially. There's so many lionfish. And so we've found, in a network of researchers have found that local control makes a big difference. So individuals going out and capturing lionfish, they can do that with a net or they can do that with a spear, and they bring those lionfish in, and by removing those invasive lionfish, it protects the fish that are supposed to be here, the native fish.
I drove down about 13 hours to get here. I had a really good time because I got to see a couple of sea turtles. I saw a spotted eagle ray. I saw a couple Goliath groupers, loads of nurse sharks. I saw lobsters.
We hunt lionfish really every weekend. We're out there hunting lionfish. They're doing a lot of harm to the reefs. They're eating a lot of the reef fish that maintain. They're eating a lot of the fish that we consume. But they eat them while they're obviously smaller, so the snapper and the groupers and things like that, and lobsters and shrimp. 3 of the guys here at Zookeeper are instructors, and we teach the lionfish specialty course. We become very educated on lionfish, so it's not, that we, just know they're bad. We know a lot more than that, and so we teach it, and we try to advocate for everybody to go out and hunt lionfish every opportunity they get.
They have venomous spines along their body that protects them and also deters predators. They reproduce really quickly, more rapidly than any of our native fish do. And so between that quick reproduction, the really voracious appetite, and the body features that protect them from what could be potential predators, they, without control, they reproduce and they outpopulate our native species. And so the impact is really significant because without those native fish, it throws the whole system out of balance.
Lionfish is definitely something that we enjoyed not only taking as a crew during the tournaments, but we also take people out on regular dive charters for it as well. And we have noticed a huge drop in numbers over the years, especially after the tournaments, but also just from people doing with charters as well. The greatest but toughest thing about lionfish is that we can find them in 2 feet of water or 200 feet of water, 1,200 feet of water, 5 feet of water, they're all over the place. You know, the best numbers we get a little bit deeper, which we need scuba tanks for, but we have taken a number of people out, you know, just snorkeling for them. You find them in the mangroves, you find them on shallow coral heads. Sometimes we see them in areas where we're lobstering that are real shallow, so we have taken a number of families out, a number of kids, and it's an introduction to it. The cool thing is the Florida Keys is a beautiful place. So come down, get your dive certification. You only have to be 10 years old. It's something that you can do with your family, and you can feel good about removing lionfish on the reef. They're easy to target, they're easy to handle, they taste wonderful, and it's not overly complicated to get involved with.
They're not a species, an invasive species that we'll ever get rid of completely. They're so established and they're everywhere throughout the Caribbean. The effective thing we can do is control that population so it keeps the ecosystem, that healthy balance, in check. So since we can't get rid of them completely because they've become established, we're working with local communities and resource managers to help control those local populations. And events like a Lionfish Derby, where you have divers and snorkelers going out collecting lionfish, has been shown to restore the healthy populations of the coral reefs in that area for an extended amount of time.
So there is no nature take its course. We are Mother Nature in this regard. It's just over the last 30 to 40 years, the problem has just gotten so bad. And so that's why there's so many of these types of events that go on.
I think over the past couple of years, what's made these tournaments so special is that if you look back 7, 8 years ago when this was just starting out, you could not catch a lionfish on scuba, bring it to a restaurant and have them cook it. There wasn't a lot of education about them. People were nervous. They got confused whether they were venomous or poisonous. They are venomous, they are not poisonous, safe to eat. So what this tournament is all about is obviously trying to remove as many lionfish as possible, get the community together, but more importantly, we get the public awareness and get people excited about trying to eat these. All these fish here are being cooked up for people to try, get introduced to it, and then most of the large catches like ours, they all go to local restaurants.
A lot of times you're hearing a lot of negativity about the health of the oceans in the news, and I think it's really important for people to remember that there are so many areas of hope, and there's lots of ways that individuals can get involved to make a difference.
It's a really cool thing to dive in general, but then if you get to dive and participate in conservation, it's very rewarding, you know, like you're having fun and doing something good for the environment. So I highly recommend spearfishing. I think it's great. But for lionfish, me personally, I like to just go for the invasives.
22 teams removed a record-breaking 1,898 invasive lionfish from Florida Keys waters. For more on how you can become involved, go to reef.org. Stay with us. There's more Animal Outtakes coming up next. So who do we have here?
So this is a Derby Woolly Possum. These guys actually come from Central America. So they are nocturnal, and you see the big eyes. Their eyes actually glow red at night if a flashlight's shined on them. These guys love, they're omnivores. They eat small little invertebrates, and they eat fruit and vegetables. Kind of like a sugar glider diet, insectivore and stuff. These guys actually are marsupials, which means they're pouched animals. So they raise their babies in pouches, and there's not a lot known about these guys out in the wild. The only thing that we do know is it's possible for them to live 8 years in captivity. So, you know, there's not a bunch known, and they've got a prehensile tail, which means they can lock on and hang upside down like a possum.
A new Christmas ornament.
Exactly, from your Christmas tree. Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How do they affect our ecosystem?
These guys, like I said, they're from Central America. So possums are pretty awesome because they actually, even like our North American possums, their body temperature is too low to actually contract the rabies virus. So it's about 77 degrees. These guys also can eat ticks and that kind of bad stuff. And also possums are what's responsible for anti-venom. They actually are how we made anti-venom for snakes. They can be bit by snakes and never die from the poison. So,
isn't that something?
Yeah.
Now, when you have somebody as cuddly as Derby, and he's really cuddly, could he be a pet?
I would not suggest these guys as pets. These guys do need a license to have a class 3. They're extremely rare and very, very difficult to get. I have a very good friend who owns Moore's Exotic Ranch up in Tampa, and she breeds exotic animals for places like us to use as educational. So he's one of our ambassadors. He's not a rescue. He's one of our ambassadors because we do go out in the community and educate people. So yeah, one of those things. If you can touch it and hold it, you become more interested in the conservation of it. So
what do the children say when they see Derby?
They just think he's really cool. Like, nobody really knows what to expect. He just loves to hang on people and climb on people. Like I said, he is nocturnal, you know, so that means that they're awake during the night. But he really loves to just chill out and hang out on people. So
well, he's chilling right now.
He is chilling, yes. And I've actually raised him since he was this big, so right out of the pouch. So, yep.
So you've earned the title of Mama again.
I have, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Signa, I've heard you say this so many times. This is our ambassador animal. This is our ambassador. What truly is an ambassador, and how important is it?
Okay, so basically an ambassador animal is an animal that an organization would have, right? So this, like I said, we are a rescue, but we also have ambassador animals to take out into the public. So it's very important because these guys are pretty rare. So pretty much no one would ever even know what a Derby Woolly Possum was. I had no clue what one was. So the more we can educate and the more hands-on you can get, the more you care about that species, that animal, and we can do more to, you know, for conservation. And it's very important. I do not want people to think these are pets. These are not pets. They are not good pets. Most of our exotics, I would not absolutely not recommend for a home. You need a license, extreme specialty care for these guys. So we do that as well. We educate on why they should not be in personal pet homes. I'm a huge advocate of that. But I do want people to enjoy these guys, and it's so cool to see a lot of these kids. They'll never, ever get to experience an exotic, even a farm animal. So it's so important. Thanks, buddy.
We're getting to
I know, right? Exactly. So it's so important to get them from not just learning about, and they also will go on the computer and learn more about these guys, because we do have, you know, that knowledge now in the computer and be able to look up things. So, but yeah, the kids are just, even kids that are afraid of animals, this is a cute little cuddly guy that people can put their hands on that they're not afraid of, as where they would some of the bigger animals. So.
Well, we thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. I love doing it.
For more about Signa and the Second Chance Ranch and Rescue, you can go to her website, secondchanceranchfl.com. And we'll be right back. Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org. From all of us at Dante's Den, we hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. And we'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching. These animals, what is their reaction? Well, what can I say? Want their camera time.
Yeah, right?
At the Wildlife Center, Science Center. Say that 5 times. Derby key. Why am I? My rhythm is broken. Take 52.